Hey y'all. Um, Welcome back to Live with Astronomer. Today we're going to be going through how to run Snowpark queries using the external Python operator and Apache Airflow. So we're going to be following this guide. I just want to start with it on screen so that you can see what we're doing, but I'm not just going to read off the guide for the entire session. So we'll give it another minute or two for people to filter in, and then we'll really get started. But I'm not just going to read. Awesome. So without further ado, let's get started on how you can run Snowpark queries using the external Python operator and Airflow. So while I have already set everything up, so I'm going to be able to kind of fly through it. You'll probably take about a half hour just for spinning up, a new environment using the external Python operator because it needs to spin up basically a sub VM, and you also need to download all the packages that enable it. So it'll take you a little longer. It only takes an hour. I think this is a little ambitious. And the only things you'll need for this are the Astro CLI, free to download. You can go just Google Astro CLI and you'll see it has very easy to follow download instructions. And then a Snowflake account. So if you don't already have an account, you're going to want to set one up. And so the first thing we're going to be doing is actually going into Snowflake and setting up our data source. So within Snowflake, go in, create a worksheet, and then what you'll do is basically copy and paste the different create table commands from the doc. So the first one, and I've already run these, so I won't run them again, but first thing you want to do is create the table, dog intelligence. Then you're going to want to populate that table. And also one thing that tripped me up when I was first starting this that might trip you up is if you can't use the default Snowflake and Snowflake sample databases, you'll need to create a new database. So I just created one called TestDB, and then just created a public schema here. So you can see the table I've created, dog intelligence, all the details down here. And so once you've run those two commands within Snowflake, you're going to want to go into your local CLI, local terminal. I use VS Code just so I can have everything up in one place. And then you're just going to basically, again, copy and paste some commands. So the first command is making the directory that I'm currently in. So I've already done this. So not going to create it again within the same directory. And then after you're done with that, you'll type in astro dev init, and that'll start up your local Airflow directory. Well, not start it up. That'll download all the files you need for local Airflow. And then what you'll do is go to your Snowpark requirements folder. So not your standard requirements folder. So you'll need to create it and call it Snowpark requirements. And this is because this is the requirements file that's going to be passed to that virtual environment. That will be different from just your base environment in terms of what's actually present there. After you're done with that, you'll want to go to your packages.txt, just add build essential. This is the Astronomer build manager, so it allows us to use the build kit to actually build that Python virtual environment using Docker. And then the next thing you'll want to do is go to your Docker file. Again, pretty much just copy and paste this here. So bring in the Airflow extension, so extending the base image, seeing from this base image the Astro runtime 7.2, and then your Python virtual environment, telling it to create a Python environment 3.8 for Snowpark, call it Snowpark, and using the Snowpark requirements text file. Now, this will take the open source Astro build kit will make this process a little easier, but it's going to need to install a lot of different operating system level packages, series Docker commands on startup to actually create these resources. So by having the Astro build kit there, you just need to bring in that line of code rather than installing all of them individually. So it just really simplifies that process there. And then once you're done with this, you'll actually also want to go to your Docker. And this one, well, it says modify your daemon JSON. That really means go to your Docker engine settings here. And you are going to want to make sure you have features build kit equal to true. Once you're done with that, just apply and restart. So you'll want to restart your Docker just to make sure that those changes take effect. And then you're going to type in astro dev start, and this will start up your local environment. Once you're done with this, you have your environment started. you're going to want to go into your local Airflow environment. So within your local Airflow environment, you'll then need to create your Snowflake connection. So just call it Snowflake default, so you don't have to actually alter any of the other code down here that actually uses the connection just called Snowflake default. If you want to call it something different, it's fine. You're just going to also need to change that code. And then what you'll want to do is, and I'll just kind of create a new fresh Snowflake once you can kind of see the different fields you need to fill out because it is a little bit tricky. So let's just call Snowflake DD. You'll want to have your login, your schema. So I use public schema there, username, password, your account name. So that's going to be this little string right up here. So you can see mine there, as well as your database and your cloud region. So it doesn't really explicitly tell you that, but those are all the things you'll need there. And then once you're done with that, we're going to create our DAG. So again, I've already created my DAG, but you're just going to basically be copying and pasting the code from that link in the description. And so from here, you're importing annotations, OS, PyPrint, Pendulum, standard, import DAG, and task decorators. Then just creating a very simple DAG called PyVirtualEnvironment, printing the Airflow context. So just printing the environment resources, just kind of general information about the Airflow environment and Python environment we'll be using. And then you have this external Python task. So you notice we're actually using a task decorator here. So you don't need to use explicitly an external Python task, but it's basically what you're doing. It's just a different way of defining it. And then you are selecting the environment that we created. So that environment was created on startup. So when you type astro dev start, that'll create that Python virtual environment, call it Snowpark, and you can see you have the astro pyenv prefix attached on there as well. So after you've done that, you're then within this callable Python function, importing a Snowflake hook, importing a session. So you're not importing them at the top level because this is essentially running an isolation within this virtual environment. It doesn't take into account the context that you've already passed here. And then using the Snowflake hook, getting the connection parameters from Snowflake default, and then using them to execute this query, getting the average of all the different numbers within dog intelligence. And then it's just going to print it out as a data frame here, and then close the session. So really simple DAG, but really powerful now that you know, hey, within the body of this Python external Python, if you want to use a different version of Python and run a script from there, you can just do it in this context where you're just creating a Python environment, running whatever Python commands you want in there, but still leveraging Airflow. So after we're done with that, we can go and actually run our DAG. So I've already run it a couple times. I'll run it again just so you can see that it will work. But if we go into one of the DAG runs I've already used, you'll see, so I guess first, just for fun, let's look at print the context just to see what that looks like. So you can kind of just see, hey, these are the virtual environment variables, task ID, execution date, just high level information. And then this is information about that actual Python virtual environment. Now, the more interesting result is external Python. So this is where you're actually going to get that query result I was talking about. And so if we go scroll down here, kind of look through within the logs, always fun looking through Airflow logs. And now you can see our average reps. So average reps lower, upper 18.25, lower 11.0. So boom, there you have it. Now you have a way to run Snowpark queries or really anything else that requires a specific version of Python. While Snowpark is a great example for this, you can really apply the lessons learned here. If you have, any kind of system or any kind of package, you're like, oh God, this doesn't work with Airflow because it's not the right version of Python. You can use the Python virtual environment to run it no matter what. So really cool tool. I really enjoyed going through this. Again, you can go to this link, just search Run Snowpark queries in Google or check the link in the description to come here and follow along. So I hope you enjoyed and learned something today, and have a good rest of your week.